Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Since MW3 was officially revealed, there's been a lot of talk going around about it, and particularly in response to whether or not this game is basically just a glorified DLC, if you will. And straight up right away, I feel like you could answer yes in a way and be somewhat correct, and answer no in a way and be somewhat correct. And today I wanted to basically break down the overall situation here with MW3 and some of the pros of what's going on this year, but also some of the cons that are going on with this year's game as well, and how things are being approached. Quick reminder as we get into everything, if you guys enjoy the video, you want to guarantee you're always up to date with everything going on in COD, be sure to hit that subscribe button, join us on the road to 1 million subs, and if you guys enjoy the video, do me a favor, drop a like on it, would be really appreciated. But the idea that MW3 is somehow a DLC, I feel like is mainly stemming from either misinformation or lack of information, I guess. So initially, you know, there was a big rumor last year saying that Modern Warfare 2 was going to be a 2-year game. That rumor stemmed from Bloomberg pretty early on into the MW2 cycle, if you will. And ultimately, that was only ever just a rumor. Now, it was a credible rumor because Bloomberg has leaked and talked about a lot of stuff ahead of time that ultimately turned out to be true. So there was merit behind it, there was credit behind it, but sometimes with rumors, things change, and that's exactly what happened. At some point in the pipeline, Call of Duty decided, you know what, this isn't just going to be a basic map pack with, you know, the guns carrying over. We're going to go all in and basically just make this a new title, but also go the extra step and add in the MW2 crossover content as well. So no, MW2 officially never was going to be a 2-year game. Call of Duty never once publicly mentioned that. Whether or not it was an idea behind the scenes at some point or not doesn't really matter at this point. The second sort of area where I feel like people are saying MW3 is a DLC is because they're saying that yes, all of the Modern Warfare 2 unlocks that you have with your weapons, your attachments, your camos, your calling cards, your emblems, all that stuff is transferring into Modern Warfare 3. Except, would this reaction be the same if Modern Warfare 3 was coming out in 2024 or 2025? Really, the only reason I feel like that is sort of being associated here is because it's a direct follow-up, you know, year to year of MW2 into MW3. But ultimately, you know, this is both a good and a bad thing depending on how you want to look at it. And like I said, there's pros and cons to the general situation. Now, the price point is one that I'm sure a lot of players are going to be curious to know. It's probably going to be $70 because technically it is a full-on new Call of Duty game. I feel like part of the lack of information here is people assuming that Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer is going to be just new maps and the MW2 guns. But no, Modern Warfare 3 is literally an entirely new COD game, just like what we'd have every other year, with a full-on campaign, a new multiplayer experience with its own guns, its own attachments, its own maps, and then a co-op experience that's been said to be zombies. I'm pre-recording this, so, you know, maybe there's some leaks, maybe there's some rumors that are out there, but that's been the main rumor for that. So just like every other standard COD game, single player, multiplayer, co-op, all gonna be there, just we have the added bonus of MW2 content right away. So actually it's the inverse of a DLC. I really would say it's the most content packed launch we may ever have for Call of Duty, but that $70 paywall probably was going to be there regardless, just because that's Activision. That's where we're at now. They like their money. But getting into some general cons here of, you know, what could be happening with this year that might cause some concern and might have some players saying, is this really a DLC? It's probably going to feel somewhat similar to MW2 at, you know, the basic level, I guess, the general level. Now, deep in the gameplay, it's probably going to feel a lot different. We've had various leaks and rumors talking about how movement's going to be changed to a certain extent, how we're really going to be listening to the community more. That's just kind of Sledgehammer's thing. They do listen a lot and make changes based off of community feedback, probably more so than really any other developer, maybe sub Raven here and there. But, you know, they're going to look at it and it's probably going to be similar to MW2 in a lot of ways. Everything is built off the same engine now, as we know. That includes Treyarch games as well, you know, when we get to that point in COD 2024. But that means certain things will likely be very similar. The menus will unfortunately probably be similar with the very ugly HUD that we have now and UI interface that we have now. The way that we go about setting things up with the gunsmith system, that could be similar and whatnot. But there will be similarities to MW2 that you probably will notice more just because we're coming fresh off of MW2 and we don't have a 2 or a 3 year break in between this and the last Modern Warfare game, right? I think everyone's most justified and reasonable con with this game is the development time. If it was, ever in the pipeline that MW2 was going to be a 2-year game, Sledge was probably not planning to have a full-on game release with a new campaign and co-op and a full-fledged multiplayer. But that's where we're at now, which means that they probably have less development time than what's ideal. Now, Treyarch getting all the development time in the world for COD 2024, my expectations are high there. That could lead to some issues though with COD 2023, just basically Sledgehammer not having enough time. But we'll have to wait and see at launch what exactly is the case there. Is it going to be bug filled and all sorts of messed up and wonky like we've had with other COD launches, or because we're sort of having this more seamless transition year to year with the same engine and everything, will that make things go over a bit smoother? Only time is going to tell there. The last thing that I've got listed in sort of my cons section here before we move on over into the pros and the positive things of what's going on is that, yes, as I mentioned earlier, this could potentially be the largest and most content-filled launch in COD history, with a full slate of MW3 weapons and MW3 maps, and then campaign and co-op, and then all the MW2 stuff stacked on top. That could be a little overwhelming, one, for players to, go in and say, okay, am I going to use MW2 guns? Am I going to use MW3 guns? Am I going to level this, level that? There's 80 guns here on day one, or whatever the case may be. Also, it could be tough for the devs to actually keep that in balance with the bloat that's going to be there right away. We'll have to see how they sort of approach that. And those are all genuine concerns as to why MW3 may appear to be a DLC at face value, but ultimately, I don't think it's really going to be that at all, mainly just because it's quite literally the content offering of a full game. But getting into some of the pros and the positives of the situation we've got this year with Call of Duty, basically we have a year's worth of experience now with Modern Warfare 2, seeing what Infinity Ward and Raven have done well and what they haven't done well to work on for MW3. If the games are going to be similar and they're, obviously connected with it being a direct sequel to MW2, MW3 is going to have that full year that they can directly rely on feedback from to say, okay, this was not enjoyed, we got to change that. Players seem to enjoy this, we'll keep this as is. That's definitely solid, rather than going from, different era when you go from Infinity Ward to Treyarch to Sledge. Now that it's a direct sequel, could make things a little bit more seamless there. On the flip side of there being so much content at launch that it could be hard to handle, there's gonna be so much content at launch. And if you're someone who kind of flies through Call of Duty games and gets things leveled up very quickly and, burns out pretty quick, in theory, this year there should be a much larger hurdle to, get over that point, because there's going to be so much stuff to do. Now, yes, your MW2 guns, if you've been playing this year, are already going to be leveled. You'll have stuff unlocked for those, but it also, gives you the opportunity to maybe switch up your gameplay some, go back to the old weapons. Maybe you can, do some of your camo challenges that you never got around to in MW2 if you need to take a break from the MW3 leveling, or whatever the case may be. This, like I said, is going to be so jam-packed with content that there's going to be a lot to do. And especially if you're someone who hasn't put much time into MW2, or maybe you're someone who took a break from COD this year and didn't play MW2, so your weapons aren't leveled and whatnot, you're going to have a ton of stuff to do on your to-do list for MW3 at launch, between all the weapons from this year and all the weapons for MW3 as well. Also, based off the various leaks and rumors, Sledge is already going full steam ahead, it seems like, on community feedback and responding to that. We've had leaks saying that the movement is going to be better. We've had leaks saying that it's basically going to be MW2 but good, because they're going to be going away from the decisions that Infinity Ward made that players were not happy with. There's a lot more community-based changes, it seems like, already potentially happening behind the scenes with MW3, and we're not even to launch yet, and hopefully that is a trend that continues throughout the years. So MW3, not a DLC, although yes, on face value you might look at it and say this is very similar to MW2. There's a lot more to this game that we have still yet to learn about, and the coming days, weeks, and months are going to be, filled full of reveals and announcements. And as those things happen, you guys know I'm going to have you covered right as they drop. So stay tuned for that alongside everything else going on in COD. Make sure you are subscribed with those noties turned on. And if you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, drop a like on it on your way out. Would be really appreciated. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.